So that's where this point lies, and this is important here to you. Process, right? So process runs among the locations, point number one. Next, where this process will be implemented, this process will be implemented in the applications, right or not, right? So for example, um, point of sale system we are using, okay? So point of sale system for what purpose? Billing purpose. Okay, which application? POS application is included. So what is the process here? Billing process means billing process. I mean to say, right? Customer product will be scanned, right? So cost will be updated in that screen by the biller. Total cost will be appeared over there. Tax percentage will be added, and finally you will get the final amount. Customer will pay money either through cash or through card or through wallet in different means of payment ways. Customer is paying, and we have given bill against to the payment which was made by the customer. So the product has customer has taken the products and went. This is for billing, right? So this is a process for billing I'm talking about. Like this, there are many processes. If you take a retail outlet, billing is one process, point number one. Second, inventory, that is a separate process. Inventory means you have to make sure the stock is available readily, right? So you have to distribute based upon the requirement to different parts of the stores which that organization is having. And they have to grade the products. They have to provide some tags and barcodings and all everything for those products that is needed. So for that, they required some applications and systems and all, right? So inventory management system and other process as separate. Maybe employees. Employees means HR people are there, right? So HR people wants to manage the employee payroll, right? So either it can be of any designation, their employee payroll, in and outs, how many days they are working, right? So what are their leaves, what are their casual leaves, or what are the leaves they have taken in between, how many leaves they have in a year, their calculation of salaries, right? So again, in that salaries, what are the deductions, what are the add-ons? That is a separate process. Store management. Store management means how the product classification you are making and how your visual merchandising. This is all comes under visual merchandising, you know, to make people to attract, right? So visual merchandising is important. At the same time, to make people not to confuse while they're doing shopping. So product positioning, that's what usually we call it as hum bolte, product positioning bolte. Product positioning in a proper manner, in a right manner. Visual merchandising have lot many things that's not required now, not relevant, because they will see a proper lighting is required. That's all. That is a different story. So store management, that is a separate process. Like that, any organization you see, process will run in the locations, and these processes will be implemented among the applications, because nothing is manual, nothing is manual nowadays. Even though human centric, it is not manual. Everything has to be automated. That's how, because a lot of activity we're involving now, you cannot do it everything manually, right? So that's not possible even, because it may not have 100% accuracy, right? So while you are dealing with things. So applications required. So the process will be implemented in the applications. Next, these processes will be used, for that they use some technology. It can be of any technology, right? So it can be cloud technology, right? It can be an automation technology, right? So it can be of anything, right? So when it's an application is an IT one. It requires some technology to be used. That's where generally this technology comes into picture. Technology is one of the key and important element one has to be known with, right? So technology, the process will be used using some technology. That is one thing. Next, this process will be used by the organization structure, because that's where generally roles and responsibilities comes, right? So whichever the role you are playing, based on that, your responsibilities will be defined. So roles and responsibilities of a particular organization which people are using, they have to use it, right? So organization structure relating to that stuff. Right? So whatever the process they are following, right? So all these things are involved in it. Organization structure, this process, because someone has to use it, okay? Because applications are there available readily. Technology was already used. These are all running in the locations, but this has to be used by someone. For example, if there is no biller, right, in the counter. So even though you have developed a point of sale system, there will be of no value. Someone has to do it. Either, of course, nowadays robots were coming, right? So, or else it can be a physical individual, whoever they are. Right? Somebody should be there to use it. Somebody should be there to use that particular process. Using that application, they have to perform the activity, right? So uses by the organization structure, right? So this is one thing. Next, if you want to execute this process, there is a business rules are important, because this is where generally being a BA, as I told this couple of times in last couple of weeks when we have discussed it, business rules, understanding the business rules is an ultimate important element for a BA. You have to know. Business rules varies from organization to organization. So that business rules, because through this business rules only, this execution of the process will be done. It will not be the same for all the organizations as it is. Depends on the business rules, what organization consists of. Again, business rules are not something independent on its own for the organization. Sometimes even government mandates and government decisions will also impact the business rules, or as the kind of business strategy what we have planned, right? So for example, it depends on the business strategy what we have planned. These business rules may vary in one case, whereas in other case depends on the government mandates and all. You may require to make some business rules in between. So that's where generally this process and all everything, right? So execution of the process and the business rules and all everything are one of the key and important element one has to be known with. Next, to manage this process and all, there must be some data manipulation, because data flow among the applications, among the systems will happen, right? So manipulation means data has to be identified, data has to be segregated, data has to be queried, right? So data has to be received, right? So data has to be retrieved, data has to be deleted, data has to be updated, data had to be inserted, right? So lot many things, right? Data, some permissions has to be given, right? So permissions has to be restricted. So for particular data I'm talking about, this is all something which we call it as manipulation. Data manipulation means data manipulation of anything. You can delete the data, update the data, modify the data, edit the data, providing permissions, avoiding and restricting the permissions, and you're storing the data in the data server, and from there you are extracting the data. That's where generally retrieving the data. Further, to retrieve the data and all, there are some queries. This is all something comes under SQL, right? So SQL data manipulations and all everything happen. This is all something comes under the data manipulation part. Next, if you want to implement the process and all, first of all, based on the business rules, you need to have some knowledge over what is to be developed. For example, you are developing a point of sale system, as the same example as in when we have taken. Let me continue with the same, right? So point of sale system we are developing. To develop the point of sale system, application you have identified, right? So developing a cloud-based point of sale system is a solution was identified by you. But how this can be implemented? First, we need to identify what are the features needed. What are all the functionalities and non-functional requirements of the particular application that we have to define. Being a BA, we have to define it with the help of technical team, with the help of stakeholders. I'm talking about customers, right? So with the help of them, we need to identify what are all the functional requirements which has to be implemented. So based on the identification of what we have made by confining or by combining business rules, etc., these functional requirements implementation will be done in this process only. So process centric. So to know about this process, business process, and how this can be managed effectively, this is what something which normally we call it as business process management. Business process management deals with it. Means when there is an organization, every organization, it can be of size, right? So it can be of different sizes, right? Some organizations may be small in size. Some organizations may be bigger, right? So it has extended well. It may be of anything, but end of the day, every organization will have locations wherein to manage their business operations and all. They have some locations. When there is a location, there will be people in that. And when there are people to perform their activities and all everything, if they require some application to use it, to use that application, it must be developed on some technology. When there is a technology is involved to use that application and all, you require to execute that. To execute that, there are some business rules has to be defined with. So whenever we have defined the business rules, when they are using the business application to be used, application nothing but application nothing but the process of a particular technical thing, right? So technical one, right? So which you have to use. There is some data is involved. Either it can be a customer data, depends on the domain we belongs to, right? So if you are banking, you have a customer data, right? So if it is a patients and all, healthcare, it's a patient's domain data. If you're talking about inventory, it can be a inventory data, means products, different products we have, right? So that data will be there. So multiple data is there, right? So data manipulation has to be done. And this is a continuous activity because your organization wants to take a decision. For example, store wants to know, right? So how much sales happened in that particular store, right? So, and they want to compare between multiple stores. So based on the comparison, if they came to know one store is not performing well, what they do usually, they will try to figure it out, right? The way the problem was and how to rectify that, right? So they want to know because among, let's say they have 5 stores. Among 5 stores, one store is not performing well, right? So the sales were not so good, right? So there could be, it can be of any reason. But end of the day, any business team or a business management team or a business team will identify, right? Has to identify where are we going wrong, right? So and how to make it correct, right? So why are we not able in a position to increase our sales? What could be the reason? Is there any problem with the location? Right, because purchasing capacity, purchasing power is important. Is this because of this reason we are not getting more sales for the store? Or is it because of the unavailability of the products? Is it because of the cost? Maybe is it because of the location what we have chosen? Or is because of the hospitality, ambience? Maybe of any rate, it can be because every minute issue will also be a matters for us a lot. So all these things we need to consider, right? So when you are trying to develop the application and when you are planning to develop any kind of application, so it's always important for us to understand about the business process model well in advance. If you know about the business process model, it is more helpful to you whenever you are working on the projects, when you are working on the applications. And this business process model will be helpful to you 100%. So this is all about the business process model is all about. So being a BA, one must be knowing about this business process model. So it will be more helpful, right? So because end of the day, every application, every project is a challenge, right? So it's not something same as I say, because there will be some complex business processes will be involved in some applications. Some application business processes depends on the domain specific organization. It may be simple, but of course, every project has its own learning experience. Every project has its own learning challenges we come across. But end of the day, business process model, overall high level structure over the model of any organizations remains constant. I am not specifying this for any particular domain, okay? Because why I have taken an example of POS, because the same example project we have taken, that's the reason to make you to understand better. I have given that example. You can relate for banking, you can relate for insurance, you can relate for supply chain. It can be for healthcare organizations, or it can be for any capital market related stuff, right? So we can relate for any other things. That's not an issue. But end of the day, this is what something which being a BA, one must be good with. This is what something which we call it as business process model. or business process management. We call it as business process modeling. Being a business analyst, one must be good with, because this is all about this. Is it clear? Anything you'd like to know? Any questions? Anthony, Bhavik, Gurpreet, Tanvir.
No questions.
Yourself, Anthony, Bhavik, Gurpreet.
I'm good.
No question, sir.
Go ahead, Bhavik.
No question, sir.
No questions, sir. Okay, okay, fine. I thought somewhere. Okay, right. So this is all about um, business process modeling, right? So this is all about BPM.